Fight.
Stephen Overcash.
Catherine Drum.
Ryan Nelms.
Mark Bringle.
Okay, so based on the attendance tonight, we do have a quorum for the night. That's good. Any board announcements, anything special we need to know before we begin tonight's details? Okay, all right, good. On the agenda, I do have one minor agenda change, if you would. If you would add a section for approval of the minutes. This will be the February 9th meeting that we need to have a conversation about and see if they are correct or not. So I hope everyone has had a chance to get those minutes and to read them. Are there any changes, anything that we need to note for the record? Needs to be changed?
Not here.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. Okay, moving right along. And again, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I know this has been a very, very busy week. We've had a lot of paper to shuffle. Yes?
Please speak into the microphone. Sorry. Is that better?
Can you hear us now?
Just make sure that you continue to speak into the microphones during the meeting.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So noted. All right, so again, I appreciate everybody coming out. I know this is two meetings that we've had this week, and it's made for a very busy week, and we've had a lot of papers to shuffle. So without taking up any more time, I want to go to item 5 on the agenda. And Mr. Flo, this is where I'm going to yield the floor to you.
Well, and I'm going to take that ball, and I'm going to pass it right to Tom on the future land use plan, the town plan 2040.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Good evening, Chair and Planning Board members. Again, my name's Tom Whitenauer. This item, it is in tab 25 of your notebook with a cover that looks like this, March 5th, Town of Landis 2040 Comprehensive Land Use Plan. And also in tab 26, there's a fold-out map that is part of the plan. It was handed out tonight. The title is Future Land Use Map. It's 11 by 17 color map. That's it.
Tom, which one are we looking at?
The one, the
Future?
future Landis.
Thank you.
Okay. So since
Ronnie, I understand we have no video.
so that you put it in the correct place, just again, the Town of Landis plan that's 8.5 by 11 goes in tab 25, and then this fold-out map goes in 26. And the map is entitled Future Land Use Map.
May I interrupt just 1 second?
Yes.
Just a little bit of background on why Ms. Cherry's raising her hand. Back in 2011, through an ADA DOJ settlement on behalf of Ms. Cherry, she was essentially ensured that any open meeting, Board of Aldermen and/or Planning Board, would allow her to be in and access audio and visually the meetings, which is why she's very active. So kudos for her for being an active citizen. What she was talking about as far as the mics is if you could just shift, move accordingly, and speak into it. You don't have to eat it, but with the mask, you may, more than you typically would, just so that there's proper audio while she's videoing. So there is a rhyme and reason, which was found in her favor in a DOJ lawsuit back in 2011. So I just wanted to give some background so that you understand when she raises her hand, whether that's in one of our governing board meetings or in here, she does have that, that constitutional right, and it was agreed upon, in federal court. So, thank you.
Are we working on the video?
Is it,
Yes, but at this point in time, if you can't hear yourself through the speakers, and I couldn't then, it's not catching on in the video either.
I understand we don't have a video feed.
Sure.
We should change monitoring it from his cell phone.
And
Let
it's,
me
yeah,
check.
it should be, and if not, Amber, thank you.
Is it possible to get the volume turned up on these things?
I agree.
Yeah, because I think we're probably doing as good as we can do as far as,
Yeah, we got, it's live stream.
It is the foundation LDO, and it helps compliance 160D as the foundation. But more importantly than that, it is really the vision for the town where you want to go, and it's composed both of the narrative words in the and the map. This board will review and review the document when you're considering zonings and growth. So with just a few days that you've had it, I think you may have received it a couple of weeks ago, actually, when we didn't have a quorum. But purpose of tonight is to take input, answer any questions you might have on this document. And is there points you want to cover, or we take questions? All right. We've had a chance to look over it. And I'll just mention the link to the downtown park plan is the hot link to that document. Anything that's here, review of the town will eventually put on their website will take you to hot link documents. Okay, so have questions or input?
I don't.
Thank you. I wanted to mention what we're hoping to achieve in a relatively short time frame is to, we want to talk about receiving a recommendation by the planning board for the Board of Aldermen.
Yeah, I'll go over that, Tom. Thank you. I'll handle that part because one of the things that 160 does requires that plans, now we're not talking about the ordinance. We're not talking about the big Landis development ordinance, the 23 articles. We're talking about the plan, that document that he just mentioned. It requires that those now be adopted by an ordinance, but the ordinance that would carry it, I'm going to call it a carrier ordinance, one-page document that is the front end, the cover of it, that takes this plan into its adoption. Okay, so it has, so it's tied to, you could say, cat, approved kitty cat. We can't do that with these plans now. As of last summer, plan in the ordinance. So one page, it just has a few whereases, whereas the state's requirements, whereas purpose, whereas that purpose, here is, and have that ready, carries the plan. So your next step with the plan is when you are would be any other discussion to record the board for the right, then we document them and conducting legislative hearing as well. Now they're hearing with things, and then they would take up any comments from the public and either amend it or adopt it at their leisure. Then you're with the big ordinance that you time on. Okay, so they're two different things, both adopted as ordinances. One's a 400-page ordinance and one's a one-page ordinance with a plan dangling off the back of it. Tom's alluded to the next steps. So the pleasure is before the board now as to whether to send it up to the board today.
Board, looking for some discussion. What's the pleasure of the board?
This is why we had the extra meeting, correct, in order to pass it up, to make sure it was due on time?
So I think the question is, are we prepared to be able to do that tonight? And Ms. Flood, I think that's what we're for tonight, is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, all I'm doing is letting you know that that's next. If there's no feedback for staff to do any adjustments or make any changes, then it needs to stay because it's in front of the development ordinance. Because the development ordinance is required to be consistent with the plan. So the vision comes first, then the standards and specifications for achieving that vision.
And that's why we had this meeting back to back, correct, in order to get that in on time?
Not necessarily. We had them back to back because we had one scheduled a few weeks ago, and then we were going to have a second meeting this week, and they just both got moved
Okay.
into the close 2 days apart scheduling.
And when do we have to have it with Sergeant?
The governing board has to, going backwards, not speaking to this comprehensive plan, not the town plan 2040, but speaking to the development ordinance, they have to have that by June 30th. The statute calls for July 1, but you've got to have it in effect by July 1, which means they need to vote in June at the latest. In order for them to vote, they have to have a hearing on the development ordinance after they have been presented this document with a recommendation that it is consistent with a plan that has been adopted or recommended by this board. So ideally, the development ordinance would be adopted at no later than the Alderman meeting, and therefore the plan would be adopted no later than the Alderman's May meeting, which means if we want to give them no time, then you could keep this over till your April meeting.
Okay.
So they don't have any time either, just like you don't.
Rick, may I ask, you're particularly in reference to the statement of consistency and reasonableness for the adoption of the town Landis Development Ordinance document?
Now that consistency goes with the big ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot on your plate right now. There's a one-page ordinance that I don't have it. I don't think we did it. Yes, we did. Miraculously.
That was given out at the last.
Oh, no, this is amending the old zoning ordinance. No, it's a one-pager that, I don't think I have printed it. That ordinance just says it is the plan you're recommending. We'll adopt it with that carrier ordinance that takes it into her book. But I can get it. That out of the carrier ordinance. I thought I had sent it before, but apparently not. So let's. I think that loss of a meeting or so sort of threw us for a loop as far as our organization. We had some real issues on my part. I'm going to take all responsibility for any delays. So let me get back into your intranet. I might be able to put it on the screen as well.
If you need me to, if you want to email it to me, I can run and print it right quick for everybody.
Will do. I'll do that. I'm gonna email it, assuming that I have a email. Yep, I'm in. This should take about 60 more seconds, folks, for me to get it to her, and then another couple of minutes for Amber to get it to us.
Text Jamie to see if she has a video. We don't.
This has been the two most awkward back-to-back meetings I've ever had in 40 years of doing this. All right, so let me get to my,
So I have one question while you're doing that. The 2040 comprehensive land use plan, does that go along with the map that was handed out? Okay. My question is, we are using the future land information, the color, the key at the bottom, doesn't match the wording that's in the 20, such as like Main Street.
Main Street zoning is zoning. The zoning is not,
Okay, it was just listed in there. That's why I was trying to match the two together.
it's talking
District then.
about recommendations for your future districts
Yeah.
in your ordinance.
So in the districts, if you look at the plan, it's just based off of your,
That's right, those districts are in the zoning ordinance, not
Okay.
in the land use plan.
Okay.
Future land use is a generalized category like neighborhood.
cool.
Then
Just wanted to make
once
sure I
you
was
go-
reading it correctly.
Then once
and-
you go to zoning, you might have several different zoning choices, like SFR 1 or 2 or 3.
Okay.
Okay, is that
Yeah, no, thank you.
clear as I can do it from, all right, what am I doing here now? I am.
Sorry to distract you there.
That's
Always ask a
all right.
question,
I'm just trying to
please.
get into a thread. I don't start new email threads. I have one thread for the project. That way I have, is, when you need to legal matters, it's so much easier if she can print one thread.
Sure.
Than if you gotta download for the courts 40. All
Yeah,
right.
if anybody has questions, especially the new, about anything that you're reading, please interrupt and please ask if we can get clarification to agree on voting.